All right. So this is getting very interesting. I mean, we are living at a crazy time. Whoa. Whoa. And because it's so crazy, I hope that you guys will really appreciate what I'm sharing because I keep being amazed at what I'm seeing here. So, remember when I was talking about, this Babylon the Great and how she was the mother, of the harlots and the abominations of the earth? Well, then, of course, I'm thinking about this today, and then I remembered, oh, Jesus mentioned this phrase. And he said, so then I thought, I gotta look at that. So then I went and I found a couple scriptures, and he was warning us of this time. At the time, he was warning Jerusalem because, now this is important because of the Fibonacci, okay? Small scale historical events repeating. Can we see events of our day lining up with past events, like previous digits in the sequence of the Fibonacci? So everything that happened, small scale, with the nation of Israel and all of that, how can it fit to our day? Okay, so he warned, and he said, therefore, when you see the abomination of desolation, which was spoken through Daniel the prophet, standing in the holy place. So I went, oh, and then it says again in Mark, because different followers were listening, and then they would write down what they remembered. And so the books are, like a little bit individual, what they might remember. So then in Mark, it's slightly changed, and it says, but when you see the abomination of desolation, interesting, capital letters. I got to find out why the Bible does that. Capital letters. Standing where it should not be, it says, let the reader understand, then those who are in Judea must flee to the mountains. So, of course, we know this had a literal fulfillment in the past, okay, small scale. But I personally believe that is a small scale code for us to recognize these same types of sequence of events were meant to happen at some point in time in the future globally. Okay, so then I was thinking about, well, Babylon the Great being the mother of this, and also the city that broke into three parts. And so then I was thinking, remember when I said, is it connected to when United States was, organized? And then I thought, then I wanted to see how it was worded in Luke. Now, what's interesting is Luke says, but when you see Jerusalem surrounded by armies, then recognize that her desolation is near. Now, I feel that in this context, that Jerusalem of that time was representing the people who had become unfaithful. Okay? So whether they were literal or not, but Babylon the Great is this unfaithful woman, and the Bible is using this story of Jerusalem having been perhaps a faithful city and then had become unfaithful, just like the harlot of Babylon. So there's a similarity there, okay? And that is kind of significant. But, so this city now, if it's a metaphor for Babylon the Great, okay, and who broke into three parts, and so I'm hypothesizing here that Washington, D.C., Vatican, and the city of London potentially are the fractured city. Okay, another scripture in Luke in 1943 says the same story. For the days will come upon you when your enemies will throw up a barricade around against you and surround you and hem you in on every side. So remember the video I made about when they crossed the Jordan River, the city Jericho was locked down tight. No one went in and no one went out. Okay? So now we know we have a very similar thing kind of occurring now around the whole world. This hemming in from every side, okay? But then I thought, and the fact, remember the mention of the armies? And I was like, has Washington, D.C. ever had the army around it like that before in known history? I don't think so. I don't think it's ever happened before. And is that place, D.C., part of this Babylon the Great? And did we just actually see a literal army surround that fractured third? They say stuff's happening in Vatican too, and the City of London. I don't know. Are there barricades up there too? I mean, if anyone knows, please let me know. It's really hard even now to find out what's truer, what's not. And they say when there's a real flux of contradicting information that starts flooding your society, that's often what happens during a war. You start getting such extreme messages. You realize you don't really know what's true and what's not. So anyways, I was really curious about this one scripture where it talked about the hemming in, right? Because of like, we're kind. So then I thought, oh well, what's this barricade? Because it talked about there would be this barricade that would be put around the city. And again, when I go and I look at the meaning of these words, I'm always getting shocked because the root word for this barricade, first of all, it means to sharpen to a point, a stake, a sharpened pole, okay? To sharpen to a point. And I'm like, okay. In some places in the world, people are being told to stay in, don't go out, being hemmed in, and when they come out, there's something that's going to be sharp and pointy waiting for them to get poked with. Okay. So there's two things that are happening all at the same time that all seem to be connected to these prophecies. And they're pretty obvious. So now what's important is when Jesus gave this warning, he said, when you see this, know her desolation is near and get out. Get out of her. Get out. And we know historically there was a window of time. They say that the Romans came and then they left. And there's different reasons. And they came back and then they eventually took the city. So are we seeing that right now? This is very, this could be it. This could be would it hurt to listen? With all this that's happening, I'd say it's not very risky to take this serious. What could just be wrong. That's no big deal. Or be right. Wow. So, I'm so glad. Some of my friends encouraged me to make these videos. I want to say thank you to my friends for encouraging me. This is helping me right now too, and I appreciate all of you. Good night.